Hello, time travelers, and welcome new time travelers. As always, if you're new to this channel and enjoy learning historical events from around the world, then don't forget to hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Without further ado, let's get into it. Today we're going to start out in 1632 when Dutch microscopist Antony van Leeuwenhoek, who became the first to observe bacteria and protozoas, was born. 1648 is when the Peace of Westphalia ended. The 80-year war between Spain and the Dutch and the Germans excuse me, and the German phase of the 30-year war. 1861 is when the first transcontinental telegram was sent via the telegraph in the United States, effectively bringing to an end the Pony Express. 1917 is when more than 600,000 Italians surrendered or retreated at the Battle of Caporetto during World War I. 5 years later, Benito Mussolini helped plan the March on Rome, which began on October 28th and resulted in him becoming dictator of Italy. 7 years later, in 1929, a record 12,894,650 shares of stocks were traded, causing the first day of real panic in the crash of 1929, known as Black Thursday. 11 years later, in 1940, the 40-hour work week went into effect under the U.S. Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. The Charter for the United Nations, the world's premier international organization established at the end of World War II to maintain world peace and friendly relations among nations, entered into the force on this day in 1945. In 1962, the American Cold War thriller The Martian Candidate was released in American theaters, and it was a major hit, especially noted for the performances by Angela Lansbury. 8 years later, in 1970, Salvador Allende's election as the first Marxist president of Chile was confirmed. 8 years before the turn of the century, in 1992, the Toronto Blue Jays defeated the Atlanta Braves to become the first team not based in the United States to win the World Series. The turn of the century in 2000, veteran comedian, writer, and director Carl Reiner is awarded the Mark Twain Prize of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Previous recipients of the prize, which acknowledge contributions to American humor, were Richard Pryor in 1998 and Jonathan Winters of 1999. 2003 is when the supersonic passenger service ended as British Airways flew its last Concorde flight. Air France had ceased similar operations in May. 2 years later, in 2005, African American civil rights activist Rosa Parks, whose refusal to relinquish her seat on a public bus to a white man in 1955 helped ignite the American civil rights movement, died at the age of 92. And our final event happened in 2017 when American musician Fats Domino, who was one of the first rock and roll stars and helped define the New Orleans sound, died at the age of 89. And with that, we return to 2024 and our current history. Now let's head over to the animal kingdom for our 73rd animal fact. The yellowhead jawfish incubates its eggs in its mouth. The male gathers up all of the eggs once they've been fertilized and stores them in its mouth until they hatch. Now let's head into the science lab where the moon is shrinking, but only very slightly, by about 50 meters or 164 feet in radius over the last several hundred million years. Mysterious super or seismic activity known as moonquakes could be to blame. And as always, if you enjoy learning historical events from around the world, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. I will see you all in the next one.